All right, let's dive into Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah, it's a classic.
We've got some analysis that I think will help us pull out some new insights.
Some fresh perspectives.
Exactly.
You know, what always struck me about Covey is how he frames these habits as a journey.
Ooh, I like that.
It's like a progression, right? You start with mastering yourself,
Yeah.
getting your own inner world in order,
Mm-hmm.
and then that naturally flows outward to how you interact with everyone and everything around you.
So it's not just about, like, productivity hacks?
No, not at all.
It's deeper than that.
It's about creating positive change
Yeah.
that ripples out in all directions.
I love that.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's break it down habit by habit.
sounds good.
Habit 1, be proactive.
This one's huge.
What really stood out in the analysis was that distinction between being proactive and being reactive.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Proactive meaning you're consciously choosing how you respond based on your values.
Right, you're not just letting your emotions run wild.
And reactive is basically like letting your emotions call the shots.
Exactly. You're at the mercy of whatever's happening around you.
So being proactive is about taking control.
It really is. It puts you in the driver's seat of your life.
I love that analogy.
Instead of feeling like you're a victim of circumstance, you have the power to choose your response.
Okay, so it's like that story from the analysis.
Yeah, the snake bite
The
story.
guy gets bitten by a snake while he's chopping wood.
A venomous snake.
Yeah, and instead of freaking out, he takes action
Immediately.
to get that venom out.
He's not just reacting quickly.
Right.
He's reacting strategically.
Yeah, and it makes me think there's another layer here, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about being quick.
No.
It's about making sure your actions are driven by your principles.
Absolutely. It's about aligning your actions with your values.
Okay, on to habit 2. Begin with the end in mind.
This one can be a bit mind-bending.
It is. It's about defining your personal mission statement.
Figuring out what truly matters to you and then using that as your compass to guide your decisions.
Yeah, it's like you're creating a blueprint for your life.
Exactly, like building a house,
You wouldn't just start laying bricks without a plan.
right? You need that vision, that overall design.
It's like, what legacy do you want to leave behind?
What impact do you want to make on the world?
And the analysis really highlights the importance of being clear about your motivations.
Yeah, why are you doing the things you're doing?
Are you doing them because you should?
Or because they genuinely resonate with your values?
I think we should all ask ourselves that question.
Regularly.
Absolutely.
It's about being intentional, not just going through the motions.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got our blueprint, our mission statement.
Now what?
Now it's time for habit 3. Put first things first.
Time to prioritize.
Yes, it's about making sure those really important tasks, the big rocks, don't get lost in the everyday chaos.
I love the visual of the big rocks in the jar.
Me too. It's
Yeah.
so powerful.
It shows how easily those urgent tasks can crowd out the important ones.
We get so busy putting out fires
Yeah.
that we neglect the things that actually matter in the long run.
And we end up feeling busy but not productive.
Exactly. It's like, that never-ending email inbox.
You spend all day answering emails.
Yeah.
But have you really moved the needle on anything important?
So how do we escape that trap of urgency ruling our lives?
We have to be proactive about scheduling.
Okay.
Block out time for those important but not urgent activities.
Covey calls those quadrant 2 activities.
Exactly.
Things like planning, relationship building, personal development.
If we don't schedule them in,
Yeah.
they'll get pushed aside.
By all those urgent things.
Every time.
Okay, so big rocks first.
Absolutely.
Schedule those quadrant 2 activities.
Make it happen.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about habit 4. Think win-win.
Moving away from that dog-eat-dog mentality.
Yes, I think this resonates with a lot of people.
It's about moving from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset.
Ooh, I love that phrase, abundance mindset,
Instead of seeing every interaction as a zero-sum game.
where someone has to lose for you to win.
Exactly. We can look for solutions where everyone benefits.
It's not just some feel-good philosophy.
No, it's very practical.
The analysis uses the example of an arm wrestling match.
Right. Instead of just trying to overpower your opponent.
Yeah.
What if you work together to find a way for both of you to win?
It's a total paradigm shift.
From competition to collaboration.
And I think that's where real innovation comes from.
Absolutely. When we stop focusing on beating each other,
Yeah.
we can unlock so much more creativity and potential.
It's like that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do we actually shift from that win-lose to win-win?
It starts with a willingness to listen.
That brings us to habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
The heart of communication.
It's more than just waiting for your turn to speak.
Right. It's about actively listening with the intention of truly understanding the other person
Putting aside your own biases and judgments.
and trying to see the world through their eyes.
The analysis breaks down listening into 5 levels.
From ignoring all the way to empathic listening.
And it's that empathic listening that's the real game changer.
It's about connecting on a deeper level.
It reminds me of that example from the analysis.
About prescribing eyeglasses without examining the patient's eyes.
You can't offer a solution if you don't understand the problem.
Exactly. We need to diagnose before we prescribe.
In all areas of life.
Not just in medicine.
Okay, so empathic listening is key to understanding.
But there's another side to habit 5.
And to be understood,
It's a two-way street, right?
we need to make sure we're communicating clearly.
So the other person can understand our perspective.
And that clear communication is the foundation for collaboration and synergy,
Which brings us to habit 6, synergize.
where the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts.
I love that concept.
It's about recognizing that we all have different strengths.
Different perspectives.
And when we bring those together,
In a spirit of cooperation,
we can achieve amazing things.
the analysis talks about a conversation between Diana and Carlos.
Oh yeah, about the environment.
They start with opposing viewpoints,
Right.
but through dialogue,
And a willingness to find common ground.
they come up with a solution that neither of them had considered before.
It's a great example of how synergy can lead to innovation,
Absolutely. It's about 1 + 1 = 3.
more than the sum of its parts.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered 6 habits.
We're on a roll.
I'm feeling like my brain is getting a workout.
Mine too.
But there's one more.
The grand finale.
Habit 7, sharpen the saw.
This one's all about self-renewal.
Taking care of yourself.
In all dimensions.
Physical, mental, spiritual, social, emotional.
It's recognizing that we are the instruments of our own success.
And like any instrument, we need to be maintained to perform at our best.
It's like that lumberjack analogy.
The one who's trying to cut down a tree with a dull saw,
He's so focused on the task.
he doesn't take the time to sharpen his tool.
And in the end, it takes him way longer.
It's a classic example of why self-care is so important.
It's not selfish.
It's essential.
We can't pour from an empty cup,
We need to take care of ourselves
so we can take care of others.
and make a positive contribution to the world.
Exactly.
This deep dive has been amazing.
It's been insightful.
I feel like we've just scratched the surface, though.
Oh, there's so much more to explore.
I'm excited to dive even deeper into some of these habits
Me too. Let's unpack how we can actually apply them.
in our daily lives.
I think our listeners will find it valuable.
I think so, too.
Yeah. Digging deeper into that be proactive habit,
Yeah.
it really makes you think about how we approach problems.
It's easy to fall into that victim mentality.
Oh, absolutely.
Like things are just happening to us.
But Covey's all about taking ownership, right?
Recognizing we have the power to choose our response.
And that power comes from focusing on what we can control.
That's where the circle of influence comes in. I remember that from the analysis.
Yeah.
But I'm still a little fuzzy on how it works in practice.
Oh, okay, sure.
Can you break it down for me, for our listeners?
Of course. So picture 2 circles, one inside the other.
Okay.
The outer circle, that's your circle of concern.
The things you worry about.
All of them, yeah, from global issues to personal stuff.
But a lot of those are outside of our direct control.
Exactly. Like you can't single-handedly solve climate change.
Right, no matter how much I stress about it.
Exactly. But the inner circle,
Yeah.
that's your circle of influence.
Fair.
Those are the things you can do something about.
Your attitude, your choices, your actions.
All within your power to influence.
So it's about focusing our energy where it matters.
On the things we can actually change.
Okay, I'm starting to get it.
Proactive people, they live in that circle of influence.
I see a problem, and then they ask,
What can I do about this?
and then they take action.
That's it.
It's like that snake bite story.
Oh.
He couldn't undo the bite itself, but he could focus on getting help, treating the wound.
Exactly. He focused on what he could influence.
This is making me realize how much time I've wasted worrying about things I can't control.
Oh, we all do it.
It's such a drain.
But the beauty of this concept
Yeah.
gives us a framework for channeling that energy
Into something positive.
into action.
Okay, I'm definitely feeling more empowered already.
Good. That's the goal.
Now let's talk about habit 2. Begin with the end in mind.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
touched on it earlier, but
Yeah.
I'd love to dive a bit deeper into the practical side of creating a personal mission statement.
Like how to actually put it into words.
Yes, it's one thing to say define your values,
Right.
but it's another to actually articulate them.
in a meaningful way.
Exactly.
I think the best way to start is with some serious self-reflection.
Okay.
The analysis suggests a couple of powerful exercises.
Like what?
One is to imagine you're at your own funeral.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a bit intense.
It is.
But what would you want people to say about you?
What kind of legacy would you want to leave behind?
It forces you to think about the big picture,
Yeah, it cuts through all the noise.
to the core of what truly matter.
Okay, that's a good one.
Another helpful exercise is to think about your talents and passions
What you're naturally good at,
and what you enjoy doing.
and then find the overlap, right?
Exactly, where your strengths and your joy intersect.
And then ask yourself,
How can I use these gifts to contribute to the world?
I'm already brainstorming it here.
That's the spirit.
This is exciting stuff.
It is. Crafting a personal mission statement, it's a journey of self-discovery.
And it doesn't have to be perfect right away.
No, it's a living document. It evolves with you.
So once we have our mission statement,
Yeah.
how do we actually use it?
That's where habit 3 comes in. Put first things first.
Aligning our actions with our goals.
With our values.
And those big rocks.
We need to identify those key activities
that'll move us towards our goals.
and then prioritize them.
Even when they're not urgent,
And remember, we're talking about all areas of life.
not just work.
Relationships, personal growth, health, well-being.
It's about creating that balance.
Exactly, making sure
Yeah.
we're not neglecting any part of ourselves.
This is making me realize how much time I waste on things that don't really matter.
It happens to all of us.
Like I'm letting the urgent things dictate my priorities.
Instead of the other way around.
So how do we break free from that?
The more we practice habit 3,
Okay.
the better we get at distinguishing between what's truly important
Mhm.
and what's just noise.
Okay, I'm ready to start putting those big rocks in my jar.
That's the attitude.
Now let's move on to those habits that help us navigate relationships and collaboration.
Sounds good?
Habit 4, think win-win.
Such a powerful shift in mindset
It is moving away from that competitive win-lose thinking
towards a more collaborative approach.
where everyone benefits.
And it all starts with that abundance mentality.
The belief that there's enough for everyone.
Enough opportunities, enough resources, enough success.
It's the opposite of that scarcity mindset that leads to fear and competition.
And hoarding of resources.
So how do we cultivate that abundance mentality?
It's a big shift in perspective.
It is.
It requires us to challenge some deep-seated beliefs.
The ones we might not even be aware of.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that someone else's success doesn't diminish our own.
In fact, it can often enhance it.
Exactly.
I think that's where the power of collaboration comes in.
Absolutely. When we work together,
We can achieve so much more.
than we could individually.
And that brings us to habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Communication, but on a deeper level.
It's about truly listening, not just waiting for our turn to speak.
It's about understanding.
Empathic listening.
Exactly.
The analysis talks about 5 levels of listening.
And it's that highest level
Yeah.
that unlocks real connection.
Empathic listening, going beyond just the words.
But the emotions, the meaning behind them.
Trying to see the world through the other person's eyes.
It's like being a translator.
Accurately conveying the meaning and the emotion.
Putting aside our own judgments.
And biases.
And really listening with an open mind and heart.
That can be tough, especially when we disagree with someone.
It takes practice.
Yeah.
Learning to listen without interrupting.
Without giving advice.
Without judging.
And then, once we've truly understood
We can communicate our own perspective.
in a way that's clear and respectful.
That's when synergy can happen.
Synergy. Habit 6,
The magic of collaboration.
where we combine our strengths
Our different perspectives.
and create something even better.
Than we could have alone.
The analysis gave that example of Diana and Carlos.
Talking about the environment.
They started with opposite viewpoints.
But through open dialogue,
Respectful communication
found a solution.
that neither of them had thought of before.
That's the power of synergy.
It's about respecting and valuing those differences.
To unlock innovation and creative problem solving.
Okay, so we've talked about taking care of ourselves.
Sharpening the saw.
Setting goals, prioritizing, collaborating.
And now we arrive at habit 7.
Sharpen the saw.
The foundation of everything.
Recognizing that we are the instruments of our own success.
And just like any instrument,
We need regular maintenance.
to perform at our best.
We talked about that lumberjack analogy.
The one with the dull saw.
So focused on the task.
He forgets to sharpen his tool.
And it ends up costing him more time and energy.
Self-renewal is not a luxury.
It's essential.
We have to invest in our well-being.
If we want to be effective in any area of life, The analysis breaks down self-renewal into 4 dimensions.
Physical, mental, spiritual, social, emotional.
Any practical tips for sharpening the saw in each of those areas?
Absolutely, for the physical dimension.
Yeah,
Taking care of our bodies, exercise, healthy eating, sleep,
treating our bodies with respect.
giving them what they need to thrive.
It's easy to neglect our physical well-being when we're busy,
Oh, I know.
but it's the foundation.
For everything else.
Then there's the mental dimension.
Keeping our minds sharp, engaged.
Through reading, learning new things,
Mm.
challenging ourselves intellectually.
It's like mental fitness.
I like that.
And then there's the spiritual dimension,
Connecting with something greater than ourselves.
whether it's through religion, nature, meditation, service.
Nurturing our souls, finding purpose and meaning,
Exactly.
taking care of that inner compass.
And lastly, the social emotional dimension,
Building strong relationships.
connecting with others in meaningful ways,
Cultivating empathy, practicing compassion.
building a support system.
It's like self-renewal isn't selfish.
Not at all.
It's an investment.
In our well-being, our effectiveness.
And when we invest in ourselves
we can show up better for others.
and contribute more to the world around us.
That's the ripple effect.
I think that's a great point to transition to a slightly different perspective on these habits.
Okay.
We've been talking about them on a personal level.
Yeah.
But the analysis also explores their impact on a larger scale.
It's about becoming what Covey calls a transition figure.
What does that mean?
It means recognizing that we have the power to break negative patterns
Right.
and create new positive traditions.
In our families, our workplaces, our communities.
It's about stepping up as leaders,
Not necessarily in a formal way,
but in the sense of inspiring others.
empowering them to live more fulfilling lives.
It's understanding that personal change
Yeah.
is the foundation for broader societal transformation.
And it all starts with each of us.
Taking responsibility for our own lives,
There are choices.
that's the first step.
An essential foundation.
And from there, we can build a life that aligns with our values,
Our goals.
a life that makes a positive impact.
I love that. It's such a hopeful message.
It is. We all have the potential to make a difference
To create positive change.
in our own lives and in the world.
And the 7 habits give us a roadmap for doing that.
A framework for living a more meaningful, effective, and fulfilling life.
So, as we wrap up this incredible deep dive, is there one key takeaway that stands out to you?
After exploring all these habits, the one that really sticks with me is that small, consistent actions lead to big change.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed
Right.
when you think about making big changes.
But if we break it down into manageable steps, it feels so much more doable.
Like that idea from the analysis.
The personal victory
Yeah. Setting aside time each day to renew yourself in all 4 dimensions.
is brilliant.
It doesn't have to be this massive overhaul
It's those micro wins
that add up over
to
time.
create a winning life.
It's so empowering to realize that we have so much more control over our lives than we often think.
We really do.
We can choose how we respond to challenges.
We define our goals.
And we take action to achieve them.
And the best part?
Yeah.
We don't have to do it alone.
The 7 habits give us a framework for building those connections.
For collaborating, for making a difference together.
It's not just about personal success. It's about contributing to something bigger than ourselves.
That's what makes Covey's work so timeless.
It's about becoming the best versions of ourselves.
So we can make a positive impact on the world.
What a great note to end on.
I agree.
So for our listeners out there,
Yeah.
think about which of these 7 habits you want to focus on.
What's one small step
You can take today
to move closer to that vision of yourself?
of your best life
Remember, even the smallest step
in the right direction.
can make a world of difference.
That's it for this deep dive into the 7 habits of highly effective people.
Until next time.
Thanks for listening.